There's a similar story where they had this very nice horses they just made for Srila Prabhupada. And he said, Srila Prabhupada, this room is fit for a king. And Srila Prabhupada told him, and where's my queen? Except in the ring on his finger, Srila Prabhupada said, someone should take care of the other animals. Pulaki said he had also one request to make on behalf of Kirtananda Swami. Kirtananda Maharaj said that you have asked us to pray to Krishna before, but he says he doesn't feel qualified to pray to Krishna. So he's asking that you please pray to Krishna for us, because we cannot pray to Krishna directly. We don't know Krishna. But if you ask Krishna, Krishna must be sure to fulfill your desire. So would you please pray to Krishna to stay with us? We want you to come to the palace that we're building in New Vrindavan, Srila Prabhupada, if it is possible. I wish that Srila Prabhupada, but unless I become a little strong, how can I go? We've also brought some sweets and ice cream, said Prabhupada. He knew that Prabhupada would not take it, but he asked if he could just at least take a little taste. Prabhupada agreed, and a small piece of the ice cream was put on his tongue. First class, he said. Later, Kirtananda arrived and Prabhupada asked for a report from New Vrindavan. Everything is going very nicely, Prabhupada, said Kirtananda. Your palace is almost finished. Already many people are coming every day to see it. It will be finished in a couple of months. The other day, a lady went in and she turned to one of her boys and said, I cannot tell you what I'm feeling, it is so wonderful. Yes, said Prabhupada, it is wonderful in that quarter. He paused reflecting. Let us see which palace I am going to. Srila Prabhupada asked Kirtananda to take back his valuable gifts and use them for New Vrindavan. You require money, said Prabhupada, so you take back and utilize it there. That is my request. Thank you very much, said Kirtananda. Most of all, we want you though. Yes, I also, said Srila Prabhupada. And if I survive, I have a strong desire to go where you are and live there. It will be a great pleasure. Kirtananda had pictures of the palace and Prabhupada set up to see them. You are fulfilling my dream, he said. We've been down, I dreamt all these things, wonderful things. He is that. He is the first student from the very beginning. When I was in the storefront, he was bringing carpets, bench, some gong, some lamps. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 18, entitled The Residence of Jambuvi Offer Prayers. This is text 28. Bhavan Yugantaranava Umi Malini Bhavan Yugantaranava Umi Malani
Bhavan Yugantaranava Umi Malani
Shonim Imam Oshadi Virudhan Nidim Shonam Imam Ashadi Virudhan Nidim
Shonim Imam Oshadi Virudhan Nidim
Maya Sahoru Kramate Ja Ojasa Maya Sahoru Kramate Ja Ojasa
Maya Sahoru Kramate Ja Ojasa Tasmai Jagat Prana Ganatmane Nama Iti
Tasmai Jagat Prana Ganatmane Nama Iti
Tasmai Jagat Prana Ganatmane Nama Iti
Bhavan Yugantaranava Umimalini
Bhavanu Yugantaranava Umimalini
Shonim Imam Ashadi Virudhan Nidim
Shonim Imam Oshadi Virudhan Nidim
Maya Sahoru Kramate Jabojasa
Maya Sahoru Kramate Jabojasa
Tasmai Jagat Prana Ganatmane Nama Iti.
Tasmai Jagat Prana Ganatmane Nama Iti.
Bhavan Yugan Karanava Unimalani.
Bhavan Yugan Karanava Unimalini.
Shonendima Oshadi Gurudam Nidin.
Shonimam Oshadi Virudham Nidim.
Maya Sahoru Kramateja Ojasa.
Maya Sahoru Kramateja Ojasa.
Tasmai Jagat Prana Ganatmane Nama Iti.
Tasmai Jagat Prana Ganatmane Nama Iti. Bhavan Yugan Karnava Urmimalini. Shonim Imam Oshadi Virudham Nidim. Maya Sahoru Kramateja Ojasa. Tasmai Jagat Prana Gunatmane Nama Iti.
Bhavan Yugantarnava Urmimalini.
Bhavan Yugan Karnava Urmimalini.
Shonim Imam Oshdi Virudam Nidim.
Shonim Imam Oshadi Virudham Nidim.
Maya Sahoru Kramateja Ojasa.
Maya Sahoru Kramateja Ojasa.
Tasmai Jagat Prana Ganatmane Nama Iti.
Tasmai Jagat Prana Ganatmane Nama Iti. Bhavan Yugantarnava Urmimalini. Shonim Imam Oshadi Virudham Nidim. Maya Sahoru Kramateja Ojasa. Tasmai Jagat Prana Ganatmane Nama Iti.
Bhavan Yugantarnava Urmimalini.
Bhavan Yugantarnava Urmimalini.
Shonim Imam Oshdi Virudham Nidam.
Shonim Imam Oshadi Virudham Nidim.
Maya Sahoru Kramateja Ojasa.
Maya Sahoru Kramateja Ojasa.
Tasmai Jagat Prana Ganatmane Nama Iti.
Tasmai Jagat Prana Ganatmane Nama Iti.
Bhavan Your Lordship.
Your Lordship,
Yuga Anta and Anave.
Yuga Anta Arnave.
In the water of devastation at the end of the millennium.
In the water of devastation at the end of the millennium.
Urmimalini.
Urmimalini.
Possessing rows of big waves.
Processing roads of big waves.
Shonim.
Shonim.
The planet Earth.
The planet Earth.
Imam.
Imam.
This.
Oshadi
Oshadi
Virudham.
of all kinds of herbs and drugs.
Of all kinds of herbs and drugs.
Nidim.
Nidim.
The storehouse.
The storehouse.
Maya.
Maya.
Me.
Saha.
With.
Guru.
Great.
Kramate.
You roam. Aja. O unborn one. Ojasa. With speed. Tasmai. Unto him. Jagat. Of the entire universe.
Pranagana Atmane.
The ultimate source of life.
The ultimate source of life. Namaha. My respectful obeisances. Iti.
Thus. Translation. O Almighty Lord, at the end of millennium, this my earth, which is the source of all kinds of herbs, drugs, and trees, was inundated by water and drowned beneath the devastating waves. At that time, you protected me along with the earth and roamed the sea with great speed, O unborn one. You are the actual maintainer of the entire universal creation, and therefore you are the cause of all living entities. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Supposed to be please. Oh, Almighty Lord,
O Almighty Lord,
at the end of the millennium,
at the end of the millennium,
this planet Earth,
this planet Earth,
which is the source
which is the source
of all kinds of herbs, drugs, and trees,
of all kinds of herbs, drugs, and trees,
was inundated by water
was inundated by water
and drowned beneath the devastating waves.
and drowned beneath the devastating waves.
At that time, you protected me
You protected me
along with the earth
along with the earth
and roamed the sea
and roamed the sea
with great speed.
with great speed.
O unborn one,
O unborn one,
you are the actual maintainer
you are the actual maintainer
of the entire universal creation,
of the entire universal creation,
and therefore you are the cause
and therefore you are the cause
of all living entities.
of all living entities.
I offer my respectful obeisances unto you.
I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Yeah.
Envious persons cannot appreciate how wonderfully the Lord creates, maintains, and annihilates the universe. But the devotees of the Lord can understand this perfectly well. The devotees can see how the Lord is acting behind this wonderful workings of the material nature. In Bhagavad Gita 9:10, the Lord says, Mahyaksheya Prakriti Sweeti Sajachara Hetanana Kontiya Jagad. This material nature, which is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, and is producing all moving and unmoving beings, by its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. All the wonderful transformations of nature are happening under the superintendence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Envious persons cannot see this. For a devotee, even though very humble, and even if uneducated, knows that behind all the activities of nature is the supreme hand of the Supreme Being. Om Ajnana Timrana Shadinandina Sharakaya Chakshuran Melikantina Tasma Shri Guru Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manodistanta Yunamutale Swayam Lukadamaya Swayam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaurabhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Vanshikapa Dhruvyascha Kripa Sindhya So, Almighty Lord, at the end of the millennium, this planet is inundated with water and drowned, and at that time you protect me along with the earth and roam the great sea. You are the actual maintainer of the universe, and you are the cause of all living entities. So Srila Prabhupada starts by referring to envious persons that cannot appreciate how wonderfully the Lord creates, maintains, and annihilates the universe. But the devotees can understand this perfectly well. So one's ability to appreciate the presence of the Lord is impeded by one's envy, one is envious of the Lord. Then his ability to appreciate what's going on, how nature is arranging everything. There's a nice Kandama Swami was saying, they were asking, have you ever seen the Lord face to face? And he said, I've seen the Lord, but not his face, I've seen his hand many, many times. And then right at the very end, Srila Prabhupada says very, very nice, he says, behind the activity of nature is the supreme hand of the Supreme Being. So the challenge in Krishna consciousness is, can you see? Krishna's asking if you become conscious of him. So maybe when we first take up Krishna consciousness, we're thinking that will mean, that we'll be dancing with Krishna and everything will be hunky-dory. But that's a much later stage. The initial stage is becoming conscious of Krishna, is being able to see his hand. Sometimes it's not possible to see his hand at the time, and certainly in foresight we wouldn't have expected things to go the way that they did generally, we look back. But in hindsight, and sometimes we can start to appreciate that was the hand of the Lord. There was a story actually, there was a very, very poor family, and they saved up all the money that they could get, and just as they were about to go, they saved up all the money to go on this cruise, an ocean cruise, and it was the holiday of a lifetime, and they were so poor they knew that they would never be able to thought such a thing again, that they scooped and saved, and they got the money together. And just on, as they were coming close to the day when they would depart, their youngest boy fell down very, very sick. So sick, in fact, that they weren't sure whether he would survive. And then the father was torn. Should I stay back with my family and look after my son? Or should we leave him in the care of somebody and just go? And he was thinking, if I just go and he dies, I'll never forgive myself. If I stay, I'll never forgive myself. So he was really, really torn. Anyway, the family got together and they decided they would sacrifice their once-in-a-lifetime holiday and stay with the boy. And the boy got well, so that was good. But the interesting thing is the ship that they were going to have the cruise on was the Titanic. So then, because the father was very pleased with his boy, and he was very willing to appreciate the hand of the Lord. So it's kind of tricky. If you want to appreciate the hand of the Lord, you have to go along with what the Lord is planning. If you act out with, then it may be difficult to see the hand of the Lord. So we have to kind of follow whatever the course is that's been charted out for us. And sometimes we don't know what the course is that's been charted out for us. And that's why we have the association of devotees to help us take the right step and to help us see the hand of the Lord. Certainly the devotees that are more aware, more capable of seeing the hand of the Lord can help us also, and we can reflect on our situation with their help, and it can make things much more clear. In the Bhagavatam, it's described as trying to find your way through a forest, and the forest is pitch black. You can see the hand in front of you, and then every now and again there's a bolt across the heavens, bolt of light, and everything is illuminated just for a split second. You have a little epiphany, and you see which way the path is, which way you need to go, and what the dangers are. So we're always praying to Krishna for that help to understand which way we should go and where's the next step forward. It's interesting over the pandemic because we didn't plan to the way things went, and so anyway they've gone that way, and now we're just trying to be enthusiastic and take advantage of wherever it takes place, wherever opportunities come our way. And so hopefully it looks like there's some very good opportunities coming our way just to go forward. We've been doing a bit of work on the situation back here, internally and externally, so that we can be more prepared to look after people. And I've often heard it said that Krishna will send when the devotees are ready. Lots and lots of people to take the Krishna consciousness. So we're being trained to become very, very, very first instruction. Rupa Goswami gave the instruction. He's asking us to control our senses so that we can become qualified to make disciples all over the world. So I don't know how you would fit that one in with rhythmic philosophy, because it's the very, very first. It's straight off the bat, you come in the door, Rupa Goswami is standing there, he's standing right away, wanting to make disciples all over the world. We haven't even got into anything yet. This is the very, and this is just from you coming out, not controlling your senses and the mind, everything's all over the place. And the very first thing, focus. You're going to be making disciples all over the world. Maybe not initiating them, but certainly giving them instructions, Srila Prabhupada's books. So that's what's on, that's the order of the Guru Parampara, and we're trying to fall in line with what that means, what that entails, what work we have to do with the surroundings and with ourselves, so that we can do that. When you're controlled and focused, then you become aligned, you're able to align, and then you can use as an instrument. Very hard for a surgeon if he's doing some really, really intricate operation, and the instrument he's holding is jumping around all over. Oh, I'm not sure if I would really do this. Can you just keep quiet and let me do this? Oh, no, I'm not sure if I can really do this. So we have to become controlled and focused, and then allow Krishna to use us in his plan. And the wonderful thing about Sankirtan, I'm sure everybody will tell you, is the amazing privy where you're allowed to feel yourself being used by Krishna. You find yourself being put in a situation, meeting a certain person, and saying a certain thing. And Mahaprabhu was relating a story a while ago. He was on Sankirtan, and for some reason, he just said to this woman, "This book is amazing, it's all about life after death. It explains that if you commit suicide, you come back as a ghost." She says, "I'm just a book." He told her that she gave him money. She went off later on. We saw her a few weeks later in the temple. She said, "Look, I just wanted to thank you, you saved my life. That day you gave me the book," and she's ready to go home and commit suicide. So then you don't only get to see the hand of the Lord, you get to go into his hand, and you get to be used by the hand of the Lord, which is even more intimate than just seeing the hand. Imagine if you're just seeing the surgeon's hand, and oh, he's very skillful, he's doing. And the next minute, you're in his hand, and you're being used to go through things, and you say, "Oh my goodness me!" So that's the great privilege we're afforded when we go out, and sometimes it can be a little scary. And I had a nice, who was saying about Jaladuta consciousness, and Srila Prabhupada stepped up onto the Jaladuta. He didn't know what was going to happen, but he knew he wanted to follow the Guru Maharaj. So that was his success. So in the same way, we never know. Oh, my Shishya was saying, every day we reinvent ourselves. So you just don't know what's going to happen when you go out, who you're going to meet, or anything. And you just, okay, well, I don't know, but I know that this is what is wanted, so I'll try. And that's the success. And then whatever happens after that, will depend on a lot of different things, a lot of different factors. And the real result, actually, because sometimes most will say, "Did you have a good day on Sankirtan? Did you do a lot of books? Did you collect a lot of material?" And it is good to do that, definitely. But the real result is that when you come back from a day on Buddhist mission, that you feel like you want to go out the next day and try again. If you get that result, and then the next day you get the same result, and then that ensures that you continue doing the activity. It's interesting because generally when we think of people in the mode of passion, we think of people like pushing past and barging and being very, very busy and intense. But it's interesting, the mode of passion, the way it manifests when you're just doing Srila Prabhupada's books is when you don't get the result that you want, then you go to mode of ignorance, then you want to give up, then you lose your determination. So mode of goodness is that you can continue on with the activity, but mode of passion is you're not able to sustain it, and then you regress back into the mode of ignorance. So some passion needs to be there, some activity, some endeavor, some effort, but that's endeavor over a very long period of time. As Rupa Goswami says, you need to be patient. And it's interesting actually because there's one very nice piece of advice from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And it's really, really interesting because you would think you're chanting your japa and maybe you can't get yourself together and the mind is all over the place and all kinds of thoughts are coming into your mind and you think, and you're feeling really discouraged and you're thinking, oh, is this really, am I really cut out for this? Is this really working for me? And Bhaktisiddhanta says, just continue on. Do not slacken. He uses the expression slacken. Do not slacken your endeavor to chant. And in due course of time, the elimination of all these different strange and weird and modern things that are in the mind, they will be eliminated. And then he says, do not be in a hurry. So the real problem isn't the obstacles or the problems or whatever it is. The real problem is we're impatient. Because we're impatient, we want to discontinue the process. So we can learn to be patient. Like Janki, who was saying in this class, that we have to just weather the storm and push on through. And patience breaks down into a lot of things. Patience doesn't just mean you're standing in the queue shouting for 3 hours. He's very patient. But patience also breaks down into being tolerant, and then tolerant breaks down into being very forgiving. A lot of these words, we take them on a kind of superficial level, what's on the tree. But what it really means is proactively we're forgiving all the time. We're ready to forgive. We're always, as soon as possible, we're ready to forgive. The quicker we can forgive, then the more we're making progress in spiritual life. And then that means the more tolerant we are. And that also means then humility is there as well. All these qualities are interlinked. So it's not really possible to be patient over a sustained period of time. There's this humility there, there's this forgiveness there, there's this compassion there. All these other qualities have to be in place as well for patience to be there. Any questions or comments? Yes, Will.
At the beginning of the class,
Yeah.
you mentioned the process of the destruction.
Yeah.
The one who's called the which must law of the world, the values,
Yeah.
self-control. You were wondering how that fits in with it.
Yeah.
So the fact that you said it and you clarify it. So a couple of things and comment and maybe actually stick it more as later on in the instructions, so this one talks about how you should associate with different types of devotees and faithfully serve the both those who've been initiated already.
Yeah.
And the plans other things just mentioned.
Well, I was thinking about that the other day actually.
So it's just to say that that's not normal qualification, it's just to be controlling the senses.
Yeah. So did everyone hear what Prabhupada was saying? I'll reiterate, and you can let me know if I missed anything out. But the very first instruction Rupa Goswami is when you control your senses, you're qualified to make disciples all over the world. But of course, there's a lot of other things that are involved in being qualified to make disciples all over the world, and he expounds upon that throughout. But he's kind of giving like a kind of a goal and areas you need to focus on, and then as you go through the others, then you can realize that. And in one of the stanzas, Krishna teaches you, and he says, with the mind, you can show respect to everybody, whoever they are. Which is interesting because if you, not to be detrimental to anybody, but it's interesting how the Ritvic contingency take a stance which is very offensive in the very, very beginning. Now, the very first thing is, okay, maybe the guy is not like this, maybe he's not an art temple, maybe he doesn't, whatever it is, but we can be managed, in the mind, we can show respect. And it's interesting in the Trinity Krishna Nara, it says, ready to offer respect. It says, we should be ready to offer respect to all. So you're ready to offer respect, but then you qualify how much respect. Do you just respect them in the mind? Do you take underbacks? Or do you go open your heart and ask for some deeper instruction? So ready to show respect also implies that there also needs to be discrimination to be able to, but there's nowhere in Shastra where it can be validated or substantiated that you're allowed to be disrespectful of anybody, whatever, even if he has a different philosophy, he has a different haircut, he has a beard, whatever it is, that's fine. He's chanting, even they're not chanting, we're respectful. You should go to the chanting. So the whole culture is based upon respect, and then if somebody is acting in a disrespectful way, whatever they're going to say is invalidated because it's coming from the wrong place, the intention is wrong in the first place. And the most elevated is completely devoid of the propensity to criticize others. So there's a difference between criticism and solution-orientated feedback. I mean, I really like the socks, they're really, really nice, but do you think we can get them the same colour? I've got a spare red one, I'm going to take the green one off. Solution-orientated feedback, not it's all space against what you're doing here, you're an advancement in the group pattern parallel. So always, and it's a much more strategically, it's a much better way to achieve the end. We're all in this together, we're a community. We're fulfilling our need is to fulfill everyone else's needs as well. We should, as leaders, probably know more than anybody that you have people that are dependent upon you, And so the pressure is on you to keep everyone happy and satisfy their needs. And then their needs are also to understand what the direction is we're going in and how to follow with that. So it's a symbiotic relationship. Symbiotic destroys evolution, because if there is evolution, then that means one day there was just a lump of earth that was floating around in the sky. Then the next day there was a bit of grass and a few flowers popped up. And then all the flowers died out because the symbiotic relationship is flowers and bees. And bees is a much more advanced life form. So the flowers are like hanging on and asking for millions of years. I don't know if I can hold on to my pollen any longer. Anyone seen a bee? And the bees like, can you give me a few more million years? I'm just a microbe right now, but once I've bumped into a few things, I think I'll have a pair of wings, I'll fly over there and I'll solve the one situation. Don't be worried, but just hang on. Oh, we only live for 20 days. We'll never make it. So symbiotic means on the same day, they both had to pop up. The bee popped up and the flower popped up, and they said, oh, that's pretty cool, because I really need a flower. And the flower said, well, that's really cool, because I need a bee. And everybody lived happy about that. And there's so many symbiotic relationships. Interdependence is where synergy takes place, where we learn to feed off each other's enthusiasm and increase, and then as a community builds, it gets better and better and better. It's not just that if you have 10 candles, the room goes 10 times hotter. But when you have 10 candles and the synergize, the room goes 100 times hotter, because everyone is able to perform in a better way. That's how the Sankirtan really exploded in the beginning, because the devotees were just, Shri Ramanuja right now was giving a class on Sankirtan and the Edidates, and they said that's all they were talking about. That's all they were. It wasn't until later on they realized they had to stop reading the books. They were just really keen to pass them on. But they would find out one was doing 40 books, and they thought this isn't possible. It isn't possible. Then they went and they found out, and then they all started doing 40 books, and then they went to 200 books. And I think Hari Ramananda and Navina Narada, they brought it up to 1,000 books. 1,000 books in them, not small books, hardback books. And some devotees now, by Shri Prabhu was saying, they're selling, it's easier to sell a set of 7 books than it is to sell one. So, and then the reason we can find out, well, how do you do it? What do you say? What do you say when they say this? And he went through a whole template of how to show the book, show the pictures in the book, and then how to close and ask for donation. Really, really nice. When we first went out, actually, we had one devotee called Bharat Prabhu, and he was showing you exactly what we have to do. And so all the devotees were copying it. So he would take the book and then turn it to the back page to show the 5 pounds in the shops. And then we kind of worked out 3 rows of it. So everyone else was, they were all exactly the same. But we're trying to follow exactly, because that's all worked. And then once you find out what works, then you can innovate and slightly tune it to something which is maybe better for you. Sometimes it's easier to realize yourself by how people respond to you. Because the false ego is really, really good at smoothing the edges over and justifying all the reasons why you do what you do, all the kind of clumsy, abrasive, annoying things that you do that the false ego can smooth it all over. But when you go and approach somebody and they react to you, how they react to you is how you approach them. So you get a really good idea of where you are and how people are reacting to you. You can't blame everybody. But it's everybody else's fault in this town. I was in the town the other day, that's fine, but everyone in this town is weird. But then you can conclude, oh, maybe I'm weird actually. Do some work on this stuff. But Vaisheshika was referring to that as reinventing yourself. So the whole idea of who you think you are and what you are, that can get turned upside down. Any other questions or comments? I was just, what's been going through my mind, and the reason why I mentioned about these other devotees that have other philosophies is we have one devotee that may be coming to help us here, and he's had experience of these different things. And I'm thinking, well, maybe we need to be a little bit proactive in it, because we want to be humble, sadness, and not be disrespectful to anybody. But for one is for all. So sometimes it's good to know very, very clearly, well, what is the distinction? So the distinction is ISKCON comprises of the Acharya system and the GBC. There's two things. You have the initiating spiritual master, or you say it's absolute. That's qualified by the GBC. The GBC take away his guruship, he becomes disempowered. So on that basis, so it's a kind of synergistic way our society works. Now, if you look at the way the Gaudiya Vaishnava, the Gaudiya Math, the way they don't have a GBC. Srila Prabhupada was very concerned. He said, don't let this become another Gaudiya Math form of GBC. So all they have is Acharya. So they have their little maths, and you have one spiritual master there, and a few devotees, and you have another temple with a few devotees, like that. Now, if you put them all together, then you get something like the Mayapur Chanandaya, like a very, very big thing. But if you break it all down, then you just get small things, and the preaching is as powerful. And then you go to where the Litvics don't accept anyone as a spiritual master, Prabhupada, so they don't have GBC, only GBC. No one can say anything too authoritative or too obviously except as an absolute authority. Everything is qualified by Srila Prabhupada. He's the only initiating spiritual master for the next 10,000 years. I haven't said that in the temple about the world. So good luck to them, and I hope things work out. But for us, we can clearly define, well, this is the difference if you want to. Some new people come in and say, well, we have this and we have that. And we can clearly say, well, this is what our camp comprises of, and this is our philosophy, and these are our standards. And that's why we don't mix. We have, they say, good fences make good neighbors. So this is what we do in this institution, and you can go and do that and that one if you want. Don't try and mix things up. So, any other questions or comments?
Yes, we're going to talk about how we offer respect to others. So how do we offer respect to people that are doing everything?
So did everyone hear that? We have to be respectful to everybody. So how will we be respectful to people that do horrible things? Well, you can be respectful, just like a doctor is respectful, but he may have to cut person's arm off. You can say, well, he's a nice guy. So you've got gangrene if that arm doesn't come off. So you may be respectful, but that doesn't mean that what you have to do isn't sometimes severe, because the situation is severe, so it calls for severe action to be taking place, because it is a severe situation. But that doesn't mean you're being disrespectful. It's something you're doing that just because you like cut people's arms off. Before you were a doctor, you were a psychopath, and you're just working to chop someone's arm off. Has he got gangrene? No, I'm not going to chop off anyway. But he's only doing it when it's necessary. And that doesn't mean he's being disrespectful. We can be respectful. But we also understand that we clearly are able to define what is a possible threat in maintaining the society that we're in. Its values, its philosophy, and even physically. Sometimes it may even be seen as a physical threat, and we just have to come down very strongly. But we don't want to attract the type of people that come to this society. And leave behind, like one movie was criticizing ISKCON, saying this and the next thing. But ISKCON is like the Ganga, it's pure. There's things in the Ganga which aren't pure, but that's not the Ganga. That's things that have been thrown in from outside. The Ganga is pure. ISKCON is pure. And then these things that come in from outside. So sometimes they're in the process of purification, and we can say, we'll just leave them in the Ganga and eventually things will be fine. And sometimes we have to say, okay, this has to come out. This is just too much of a disturbance. Go over there, clean yourself up, and we'll review the situation in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 3 lifetimes, like this. So that's not disrespectful, but it's
Any more of non-devotees, because social respect all living entities, and non-devotees are doing the karma activities, and how do we see them in a respectful way?
Yeah, how to see non-devotees in a respectful way, or maybe engaged in Upara Karma. One time when I was with Prabhupada in Sankirtan, we ended up in, we didn't realize what it was actually, it was a place where the animals were terminated. And so we were speaking to this man, and he had a very, very kind of cold atmosphere around it. And I realized that was his job every day, he was doing that. And so it was kind of scary because I was thinking he really needs to take a book. Actually, he did take a book, and he did give a really good donation. And so I tried to put myself in a position where I wasn't judging him. I was just thinking, how can I help him? How can I give him something which will help him in his life? He takes from the Prabhupada's books, who knows? I was just listening the other day, Shukaketi, who was saying, Prabhupada asked him into his room, and Prabhupada was looking at Krishna book, and he said, this Krishna book, all you have to do is read this Krishna book. It is so good. It is so good. You can be Krishna conscious, you can read any of the books, just this Krishna book. He said, in fact, you just need to read one page. Or he said, in fact, you just need to read one line. In fact, you just need to read one word, and you can become Krishna conscious. So, we can look at that person and think, well, there go I, look for the grace of God. Because I don't know why I would have been if I hadn't come in contact. I wouldn't have known. I didn't find out about vegetarianism until I came in contact with Krishna consciousness. And it may never have made sense to me. It didn't make sense to me, actually, because my mother was vegetarian. I used to argue with her. I said, well, it's not really any difference, really, is it? Well, the animals are struggling with, which one is one person down there? And she slapped me, actually. She knew me to slap me in the shopping centre, Concord shopping centre in Scotland as well. And she had to put up with all this, and we didn't want to go vegetarian, but she went vegetarian. Later on, I was really sorry that it said that, and I changed, So, we don't know when you're in ignorance, and you can't really be judged, can you, for the way you behave. You think if a person's really crazy, you say all kinds of crazy things. You kind of accept, well, you can't really hold them responsible. Like an animal, when an animal does something, you don't take a dog to call because you stole the sausages, right? How do you do I think that means guilty. So you don't know, So people like that, they haven't had the opportunity. So once they get the opportunity, and if they misuse it or abuse it, then that's a different thing. But up until then, they're innocent. Should have probably affected them as being innocent. And that's the difference actually between a Kanishna and a Majjhima, because the Kanishna doesn't preach, he's back in the temple, he's following all the rules and regulations, he's like really into all the rituals and pagan basis of the deities, but he has come to the stage of recognizing who the innocent are, who the devotees are, who the envious are, and who the Supreme Lord is, really. So when you come to that stage, and you can recognize, oh, this is actually, he's not envious, he's just innocent. And you can find that out. I mean, some of the people who are favorable to Krishna consciousness, that I go around and see people, I used to see people every year, and one of them is Hilda, and she's in Bangladesh, and she runs a butcher's shop. And when you go in, she's got Karanga, fresh markets. Oh, okay. As soon as it comes, she goes, Karanga! In fact, we used to get that in the bars, didn't we? On a Sunday, we would put our dhoti on, and we would do straight books for an hour. We would do how we wanted to begin with in the bars. And generally, it was pretty good, actually. And the most enthusiastic ones were the ones running in the middle section. That's how they were touching the things. So, yes.
Speaking of respect, bro, how can we, should we or how can we show respect to people, those who are blaspheming the Vedic literature, Supreme Personality of Godhead, or devotees when we go out in Harinam or Sankirtan trying to distribute books?
So, Lokashna, she's just saying, how do you be respectful to people who are being blasphemous? So, the injunction is that because, we're not going to, the injunction is you kill them, you cut the tongue out, or you go away. So, of course, the easiest thing is just to go away and leave them to it. So, we don't. Part of the art actually is is being able to discriminate and understand which fruit is ripe and which fruit isn't, and not trying to pull a fruit off the tree that's very unripe, that's very unresponsive to what would seem like really basic truths. When I first started reading the books, I was at my college in Stockport doing the foundation course. I was really excited about the books. It all made sense to me. And I didn't have that filter on me, which then you have to have later on. You can't just say anything and everything to somebody because it's getting you fired up. And I remember I was talking to this one girl. It was like, she was looking at me like I was speaking Chinese. I was like, don't you get it? She said, no. It just didn't make any sense at all to me. So we look for the right, for the ones who are right. And if they're not right, or if they're antagonistic, then we navigate around them. And we don't try. Srila Prabhupada said also, don't try and pull out a big fish, because a big fish will pull you in. So if you're fishing and you get something on the other end of the line and you realize this is heavier than me, you just like, there's stories about happening actually somebody got and they were so attached to them when they go and they began to pull and they went in with it. So, and it's interesting, he was talking about radar by Shishiguru. So radar is, you're just checking people out and seeing how they're reacting to you. Whether you're getting a 5.1 response, or 6 or 7, or if you get an 8 or a 9 response, and the person is like, wow, I'm looking for a Bhagavad Gita, have you got any Bhagavad Gitas? Then the person's very right. So we should avoid antagonism, antagonism as well. Just sidestep the negative and find the positive. And then it's anointing too as well, otherwise it will suck on your energy. But that's an art actually, that is taking it. But probably the fastest way you can learn is by going back to just that's a really fast way to learn. You learn a lot of things very quickly actually. Just like everything else. Any other questions? Yes, no question. Oh, couldn't find it, yeah?
Sorry, it's okay, I won't ask you.
You can ask it in a very concise way.
I'll just tell a short story. I was doing book distribution in I think it was in the Royal Island show somewhere. And someone said, I don't agree with your philosophy, but I respect you because you do what you believe in. And if you're ever in trouble, I can't save your life in this one. And I hope you would do the same for me. And I thought, probably wouldn't actually. No, not because I didn't like the person, but because I'm a bit of a coward, physically. So my question is, can we respect people because they've got qualities which we haven't yet developed, which are actually useful in the emotional sense? It would be useful if I would be willing just to go and sacrifice my life to help another devotee. And there are people who have got that kind of Kshatriya nature. So can we respect people for that quality? And how can we be honest with that? How can we be honest in that kind of situation?
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? But this is sort of the Amish, isn't it? The Amish, some madman broke in and shot the 5 girls were killed. And that night, the mothers of the children went to because the person who did it, he shot himself as well. So they went to the wife of him that evening and said, we just wanted you to know that we have forgiven him for what he did, and that if you need any help, we're here for you. Because we understand it was very difficult for you right now. And the Senate or something in America was commending them for the type of compassion. So.
Because they also eat meat, so...
Yeah, there is a tendency for us, because we can be a little bit institutionalized to think that because we have a dose and tea, and because we read the Bhagavad Gita, therefore we must be cut above other people, and we must have better qualities. But just because we've accepted all the qualities, that we should be compassionate, and we should be all these different things, it may not be that we are. We're in the process of trying to acquire those qualities, and it doesn't happen overnight, unfortunately. Sometimes the bad qualities disappear before the good qualities come, or the good qualities come, but the bad qualities are still there. It just depends on the way that we progress in our own spiritual lives. So, the best, because of that, then the best policy is that whatever the person is doing, whether he's running a shop that sells things which are untouchable, or whether the person does things or behaves in certain ways which would maybe merit us criticizing the person, then the real art is, can you see some good quality in that person? Can you appreciate that person? He qualifies humility as not that you just feel lower than initiating spiritual masters, or that you feel lower than someone that's been in a movement 30 minutes longer than you have. But real humility is that you feel lower than everybody, that you feel like everybody else is better than you. So that's quite a quality to try and develop, to come to that stage of appreciating that. But that's what the bee is. The bee only finds the honey, and the fly always finds some way of finding something to criticize. And criticism is tamastic to the mode of ignorance. It doesn't mind that anybody criticizing. So how do we become honeybees? So that whoever it is, we're able to understand them and appreciate them and see what they've acted like that because of this, and empathize with the person. And if you're like that, then you'll always remain, you'll always be able to stay enthusiastic and navigate through life. But if you're not, then you could take on, if you've become critical of other people, then you can take on the very quality that you're criticizing if you're meditating on yourself. So we're only in the very fortunate position that we are because of Srila Prabhupada's message, because he did come across and give us all this knowledge. So we should always remember that, and try to appreciate other people have. We can think, okay, this person, if he had taken up Krishna consciousness at the same time I had, he'd had as many Mangalati suits as I've had. He's been to as many darshans of the Guru as I have, seen as many lectures as I have, read as many books as I have. This person will be able to do it a lot better than I am. So you can see like that the person potential is better than I am. And I've misused and squandered so many opportunities and in so many ways wasted my time in practicing Krishna consciousness. So, and you would think, oh, well, maybe that would be very discouraging if I think like that. But actually it's not when you think like that. It's encouraging if you like that. And this is what being humble must feel like. Okay, I'll finish there. This time we're in the key.
Jai. Jai.
Over here in the
Haribo. Jai.